Elon Musk signaling militias to stand by, an assassination attempt on John Bolton, civil lawsuits against Trump and other January 6 participants, challenges to the presidential pardon power in court, and Christian leaders and Republicans turning on Trump. Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. So, to start with, let's look at whether some of the January 6th participants who have been pardoned might face some civil lawsuits. So when I saw the headline, obviously I was disturbed, but right after that, I got a flash of a clairvoyant image of the two Proud Boys that were pardoned sitting in court, and they were either being charged with another crime or they were being sued. So those are the only possibility that they're being charged with another crime, I think, is if they're charged at the state level because they've been pardoned at the federal level. So let's first ask that question. Will um, some of the participants in the January 6th insurrection be charged with state crimes? So I'm seeing some discussion with a couple attorneys generals. The one is for sure from California. I forget his name. The other one, I'm not quite sure. The question is, what would the crime be? I think the crime would have to involve some sort of illegal transfer of money to support an act against the government. Obviously, it's going to have to be a violation of state law. So, and it's going to have to be a violation of state law that probably wasn't part of the trial in federal law because there are some weird double jeopardy um, consequences that have to be avoided. So, for example, they couldn't be charged with sedition on the state level. At least I don't think so. That's my understanding. I'm not a lawyer, but that's my understanding is double jeopardy can apply to state and federal crimes. Um, so let's just ask, will members of the Proud Boys or other January 6 participants who were pardoned, will they face state crimes? So I'm getting an image of the Hierophant in the water, which stands for the courts, can be the church also. Let's see what the cards have to say. So, is it possible that they're charged with some state crimes? Maybe. I mean, we get the Eight of Swords, which is about confinement. Here, this image, the person's being led off, blindfolded, bound, kind of like handcuffed. It's the Eight of Swords. The challenge is the Death card, or um, a new start, perhaps. Or maybe the challenge is overcoming the pardon. I guess the discard could kind of represent that as a new beginning, as a rebirth. Things are going to happen quickly, so I think if it does happen, we're going to get news rather fast. In the past, we have wish fulfillment. I think this is the pardon themselves happening for the participants. That was their wish. It happened. Uh, we're at a new beginning, but notice the fish jumping out of the cup. So that could be a surprise, a new beginning with a twist, right? So that's kind of interesting. We get the King of Wands in the near-term future. This could be some fiery leadership, some passion. Um, this could be the Attorney General of California, although I'm not sure that they were in California, but it could be another attorney general too. It's just that's where I'm drawn to. Um, we get the Eight of Cups, which is walking away from something that no longer serves us. So uh, perhaps this presidential pardon power no longer serves the country. We'll look at whether that'll be challenged in courts. We get the King of Swords. This is the spy in the camp. And in this depiction, it looks as if they're victorious, but it's an illusion. So, um, and then the hopes and fears, we get the Three of Coins. This is about the exchange of money and partnerships. This could be what they're charged with is money being transferred between entities that money wasn't supposed to be transferred through. I feel like it's going to be a financial crime if they're charged at the state level. We do get the Queen of Pentacles, which is an offer about money. And we get illusion and delusion. I think this represents the delusion that they think it's over, that they think they got away with it. I think that's a delusion. I think things are going to come to the forefront, whether it's a state charge, a civil charge, because what's coming next is judgment. So there's something that's going to be judged. There's some anxiety going on, some ill health. This could be ill mental health as well. And then a message coming through and something shocking happening. So I think they might be surprised. And then I think this fool represents a new start for the country. So I think it's entirely possible that they are charged with crimes on the state level. Again, I think it's going to be financial crimes. I don't think it's going to be the actual act of sedition because that seems more like a federal thing. But um, if money was being passed illegally through state banks or something like that, I could see that turning into a crime. Uh, the other thing with January 6th that I wanted to look at is will there be civil lawsuits against the people participating in January 6th? Let's actually start with will there be civil lawsuits filed against Trump for his action and inaction on January 6th? Now that the Jack Smith report is been written, I think that could be the basis for people that were affected on January 6th, in particular congressmen. And what I had got an image of um, back in maybe even before I started this channel was I had been receiving an image of uh, Congressman Congresswoman Jayapal and Congressman Raskin um, in court as if they were the ones doing the suing. And it would make sense that they suffered emotional and maybe even financial damages, depending upon whether they needed medical attention or, therapy afterwards for the stuff they went through on January 6th. So I'm getting the image of the Five of Cups, which is about loss. Now, it could be a financial loss for Donald Trump, but it also could be just their loss of feeling secure and safe, right? When things traumatic like that happen, it can lead to all sorts of issues that need to be addressed. So, will Donald Trump face civil lawsuits for his actions or inactions on January 6th? I see the Six of Wands, which is victory. I think maybe so. Well, let's see what the cards say. Now, that doesn't mean that they'll necessarily win the case or that it'll even make it to trial. The real question is just will there be a lawsuit filed? So we get the Four of Cups. This is about apathy. Um, and it's crossed by the truth. So the challenge is getting the truth out. they may not get to see everything that the DOJ has collected on Trump now that Trump has taken over the DOJ. There might be some issues with discovery. But the foundation of the reading is the Page of Cups, which is bombshells and revelations. So it seems like something might be coming forward. We have justice in the past. Um, that's interesting. Let's see. Let's keep going and see if maybe that'll make more sense. We get the Empress in the sky. This could be Russia. It could be Russian influence that's exposed. Um, Russia being behind the insurrection. It also could represent the mother, you know, the things that hold the family together being what is part of the damages, like perhaps the emotional toll of going through that has caused a lot of pain and anguish for them. We get the moon card in the near term future, so things will be coming to the surface. We're going to get more information. It's going to take some time. We get strength. So I believe they have the strength to move forward. We get a message about money, which this could be in itself the lawsuit, could be represented by the Page of Cups. The hopes and fears is the Emperor card. This is abuse of power. It's also the card for the presidency. It kind of confirms that we're getting the right cards for the reading. So this is the hopes and the fears, and I think it's both a hope and a fear. The hope is that they are able to sue the president. The fear is that they're not able to sue the president. Um, and then we get a financial new beginning, which could be, you know, a reward from a lawsuit. It's going to cause a lot of anxiety reliving the things that happened, which might be a hindrance to whether they actually bring the lawsuit. But again, we get a new start. And notice the fish jumping out of the cup here. That's the same fish that, oh, sorry about that. That's the same fish that's jumping out of the cup in the Page of Cups, or the fish that the bird dropped into the cup. So the Page of Cups holding the Ace of Cups. So that revelation is going to lead to some sort of new beginning. Underneath, we get the Queen of Wands. This is fiery, passionate leadership. We do get pause and suspension. I think it's going to have to work its way through the courts. We do get the Lovers card, which is about partnerships. It's going to be a big, heavy burden to go through with a lawsuit that's represented by the Ten of Wands. We get some dark energy, but ultimately we get financial stability with the Nine of Pentacles, and we get moderation with the Temperance card underneath in the shadows. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. I feel like there will be a lawsuit. Um, I don't know that'll actually end up in court. I think it's going to be challenged on multiple levels of presidential powers and various other uh, nonsense. The other thing I wanted to look at is so Trump pardoned these January 6th people, but he himself was involved in January 6th. I think, you know, most of the people on this channel can agree that he was complicit with his actions and in his inactions on January 6th and his actions leading up to it. So, will the presidential pardon power be challenged in court with the hope of limiting its scope so that in the future presidents cannot pardon people for crimes in which they themselves are complicit? So, will there be a challenge to these January 6th pardons? Again, I'm getting the Five of Cups, but I feel like that's just a loss for the country. Also seeing the Six of Wands. I'm seeing the image of a like a female, I'm assuming a lawyer who's in a very sharp looking navy suit with her hands up as if she has won the case. Um, that's interesting. I don't know what I would assume it'd be an attorney general that would challenge that. I don't know whose face that is, but we get the Queen of Cups. This is steady leadership, could possibly be the attorney general. Um, the challenge though is the messaging around what happened is so fiery. There's I don't think there's anybody that's ambivalent about it. I think you're either really upset about it or you are part of the cult and you just think these people did nothing wrong. I don't think there's much in between, and I think that's a challenge. The foundation of the reading is the voter, the Four of Wands. I don't think the average voter's going to be content with this pardon, but we'll see. In the past, money was exchanged. Um, Again, was there money exchanged for a pardon? It's hard to say with Trump. He's such a criminal. I mean, for entertainment purposes only, but he is a convicted felon, so I guess that's fair. Um, we are at a crossroads as a nation. Um, we're kind of at a fork in the road on what we're going to decide is acceptable and not acceptable as far as pardoning goes. The near term future is the tower, which is something shocking coming forward. And the shocking part could be the courts actually saying, you know what, maybe the presidential pardon power isn't absolute. Maybe it needs to be looked at because we get a new beginning. And maybe we get a new beginning in the sense of presidents aren't going to have as much power as they had previously had with this pardoning situation, although none of them have abused it as what we just saw in the last couple days. Why? Because the presidential pardon power is something that's no longer really serving us in its current form. So it's something we were going to walk away from. That's the thing is represented by the Eight of Cups, walking away from something that no longer serves us. Uh, the hopes and fears is the Eight of Swords, this makes perfect sense. This is a fear. The fear is that we're constrained by the Constitution and that there really can't be any challenges to the presidential pardon power. That's the fear. However, I think any rational look at this, it would make sense that you wouldn't want a president to be able to pardon themselves for, say, well, let's say like the vice president murders the president, becomes the president, and then pardons himself. You wouldn't want that kind of thing to be able to be legal. So I think the courts might take it up. Um, we do get a fiery message, so maybe something unexpected coming forward and partnerships forming. There might actually be, some Republicans that join in on this idea that the presidential pardon shouldn't be absolute. We've heard Lisa Murkowski, for example, and Bill Cassidy and Tom Tillis all come forward and were not at all super harsh against what he did, but definitely didn't like what he did. And the final outcome card is the judgment card. So there'll be some sort of judgment on this. I do think we'll see this end up in the courts. I don't know if that'll be anytime soon. Things in this country take, legal stuff can take 3, 4 years. We do get the Queen of Swords underneath. She's holding the Ace of Swords, which is the truth. We get the Emperor card, which is the presidency and abuse of power, which is exactly what we're talking about. And it's going to take hard work to see this through. So, um, yeah, interesting to see where this January 6th stuff, um, the pardons come to. And I feel like they may have opened themselves up to some civil suits, possible state charges. Um, I don't know if you saw in the news, but Bishop Marianne Edgar Bood, who is at the National Cathedral, was giving a prayer while Trump was in attendance at the service. And the prayer was really an excoriating breakdown of how awful Trump's policies are. And, and it was her prayer was kind of like a plea, please don't do these things because this is not what the the word of God says we should be doing. We should, um, one of the quotes from the prayer was, uh, we all at one time were strangers, meaning, we were immigrants in a foreign land at one time. So, will religious leaders use their platform to fight against Trump? So, I have always thought that the way to defeat MAGA is through compassion and education and discussions and really breaking down what is true and separating that from the falseness because MAGA is based on a lie. And essentially that's what the prayer was about was that no, not all immigrants are criminals. And why are we punishing transgendered youth? What's that about? Um, so the question that we're going to ask, I guess, is will religious leaders use their platform? Will religious leaders use their platform to fight back against some of the Trump policies? So I'm seeing the Six of Wands, which I think this deck is depicted as a woman with holding a wreath up, which is about victory. So let's see what the cards say. Will these religious leaders? I'm also seeing the Five of Pentacles. I think there's a lot of worry that if they do stand up to MAGA, that they're might not have the money coming in. So we get the Two of Pentacles. So it is a little bit about juggling money. So a couple summers ago, I was in Oklahoma and visiting some friends, and one of the friends happens to attend church regularly, and he described his church basically as being ran by the congregation that is extremely MAGA, and that his friend, who is actually the faith leader at the church, felt like he had no power anymore to stand up to the congregation because of the fear that the congregation would leave. So that's an interesting card. The challenge is the Page of Wands. So the challenge is getting this message out that the actions that are going on in the administration aren't really in alignment with the moral values of the church. Um, the foundation of the reading, though, is steady leadership. Could be female leadership. This particular bishop was female. It, it might come from the female faith leaders. That wouldn't surprise me. I feel like women are going to have to carry a lot of weight as we resist what is going on. In the past, we have the Eight of Wands, which is about things coming forward quickly. It's almost like Magus snuck up on the church, and now the church is all like, what do we do? What do we do? What we've been preaching for, 50 years isn't no longer what we're saying anymore. Our congregation just supported somebody who is a 34-time felon who also was found liable for sexual assault. Um, it's like that snuck up on them, like they didn't really see that coming, is the sense that I'm getting. And now they're at a crossroads with the Two of Wands, and they're looking towards the future. but they're not exactly sure how to go towards the future. Um, the near-term outcome is the Seven of Wands, and this is about defending oneself, defending one's position, perhaps even defending one's morals in this particular case. And there's going to be a lot of fighting amongst the people in the church if one of the leaders does decide to come forward and criticize the administration. I think especially in a lot of the conservative churches that are in the South in particular, although they're kind of all over, but not just in the South. Um, the hope is that we get a rebirth. So this is death and rebirth in this particular uh, deck. Um, this also could be the hope that MAGA dies out, and that allows the church to get a rebirth, or you know, there's almost like a revival movement to get the faith back into the church. I think the church is almost operating as part of the Republican Party in a lot of parts of the country. And again, we get the Eight of Swords once again in the hopes and fears. And that's about feeling confined. I think the leaders, the faith leaders in the country feel as if they can't speak out. They can't speak out because they don't want to alienate their congregation in a way that causes them to lose financial stability. But they also, I think, have some fear of political retribution coming from the administration if they do speak out. So I think we've already seen Trump make a statement against the bishop's prayer earlier. If you can tolerate looking at him, listening to her prayer, it's Marianne Edgar Bude, Budde. There's a video of the prayer on YouTube and Trump and Vance's reaction to it, and it's pretty powerful. Um, the first outcome card is the Nine of Wands. So they're wearier warriors, these faith leaders. Um, but they're trying to ground themselves and be stable leaders. And uh, but they're questioning whether they're illusional or delusional about whether they can be successful um, speaking out against this. So I don't expect a bunch of them to. I think there'll be some that do. Um, I think the worry is too great from retribution from both their congregation and from the administration. But we do have the moon card, so things will be coming to the surface. We have the card for Trump, which just kind of confirms we're reading on the right thing. And then we get the Five of Swords, which is about being wounded in battle. This could be the church being wounded. This also could be Donald Trump being wounded. But ultimately, the faith leaders do have protection with the star card, and being on the right side of history is important to them. So that's what I'm feeling. We'll just kind of have to see how that plays out over the next, 6 months, year. I think if we start seeing mass deportations and stuff like that, like we're expecting, um, in the last reading, I said there would be a backlash against that. It might be coming from the faith leaders as families are being torn apart. So, two more things I wanted to read. I wanted to read on Musk's Nazi salute and whether that was a call out to militias to stand by to defend uh, Donald Trump's positions if they're challenged in the courts or elsewhere. And then I also want to read on Donald Trump took away the Secret Service protection from John Bolton. And I got the image of, like in a hotel, how there's a hotel bed, and then usually it's only about maybe 3 feet from the wall. Like the bed's usually really close to the wall. And I saw an image of John Bolton hovering down between the wall and the hotel bed, and I could hear pounding on the hotel door. What that means exactly, I don't know, but I think these things might be related. But let's just first start out by asking the question, um, is John Bolton's safety um, in doubt? Does John Bolton need to worry? Let's see, how can we phrase this? Um, should John Bolton be worried about violence happening to him? Let's ask it that way. Should John Bolton be worried about that? So I'm getting a picture of Elise Stefanik. John Bolton was the UN advisor uh, before, and he was kind of an Elise Stefanik type character. He didn't do a lot of good, that's for sure. So I don't have much sympathy for him, but um, he's been receiving death threats from Iran, is my understanding, and that was part of the reason why he had Secret Service protection, but Trump took it away. So does John Bolton need to be concerned about his safety? John Bolton concerned about his... So I'm seeing the Five of Swords, which is about being wounded in battle. But I get a feeling that that's actually Trump, and taking away the Secret Service was just his way of getting back at some of the things Bolton said about him, which, fits the bill for the petulant child that he is. So let's see what the card says. So does John Bolton need to be worried about his safety? I think so. I mean, we get the Four of Swords. It's about ill health. Um, and it's challenged by the Wheel of Fortune. The question is, will the fortunes turn in his favor or turn against them? They seem to be going against him. We get the Knight of Cups, so a message will be coming forward. I almost wonder if he's not going to get protection in a different way. We get the Five of Pentacles in the past. This is what just happened. He's now left out in the cold. He's on his own for his protection. He's either going to have to pay for private protection or some other arrangement. Yeah, we get the Tower in the sky. Explosions, explosive news. Um, we get the Four of Pentacles in the near term future, which is about stability. So in the near term, things might be okay. We get the Sun card, which is about full illumination, completely understanding the situation, why it happened and how it happened, um, and what is happening. We get a lot of dark energy with the High Priestess. So there are forces that are working against him. Yeah, and the hopes and fears, we get the Devil card, which is about abuse of power, toxicity, disinformation. Also could be addictions. Um, it's almost like Trump is addicted to retribution, right? If you say the least critical thing of him, he's going to seek retribution. So I think that's what that's about. The outcome is the Strength card. That's actually a yes card, so it depends on how the others come out on what the conclusion will be. Here's the Five of Cups, which is about loss. And we get the World card, which is about the end of a cycle. Hmm. If I were John Bolton, I would be very concerned. We have Judgment. We do get the Six of Swords. That's a little bit of comfort, moving away from troubled water. But we get fiery messages. So this is like that constant hammering of, John Bolton is awful, 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 which is why I think it might be slightly related to Elon Musk, which we'll read about here in a second. We get the Eight of Cups walking away, and here's the Five of Swords that I was seeing being wounded in battle. But I think this is actually Trump's ego being wounded by Bolton. And that's why he took away the Secret Service protection. Okay. So if I think there very well might be an assassination attempt on John Bolton, or at least some serious act of violence. Okay, so Elon Musk's Nazi salute, was that a way of signaling the militias and the Proud Boys that, hey, we're on your side, help us out if we need you? It almost felt like when I saw the image that it was his way of saying, if the courts strike down Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship, we need you to have our back. And the courts are going to strike that down. I mean, I could read on that in the next video, but I'm 100% positive they're going to strike that down because it's literally written in the Constitution that if you're born in this country, you're a citizen. So I don't see how you can get rid of that with an executive order, but you never know with the Supreme Court, but I don't think they'll go along with it. So was Elon Musk's Hitler-esque salute a way of signaling to the Proud Boys and other militia that they need to have Trump's back? So I'm getting the Devil card, which is about toxicity, mis and disinformation, addictions. Kind of fits the bill for the energy that I feel. It was kind of a, we all have a past and a history, and for me, that was a pretty troubling sight for sure. We get the Death card. So this could mean a few different things. It could mean the end of a cycle. It could be the beginning of a cycle. It could mean literal death, as in there might be people that are harmed from this action, for entertainment purposes only. The challenge is monetary reward. So if they are going to call on the Proud Boys or these other militias, are they going to be able to compensate them? Because I think there is some reluctance after what happened to January 6th, although, there's the presidential pardon power question. Um, yeah, we get giving and receiving of money, paying back loans and debts, quid pro quos, the Six of Pentacles. So that's the foundation of the reading. In the past, we get the Ten of Pentacles. So this is sometimes the inheritance card or wealth. It's almost like Trump knows he had more power in his first term than he has now. And that's why all these executive orders are coming out to just muddy up the news cycle. Um, we get fiery messages coming forward. This could actually be the salute itself. Uh, there's a spy in the camp. The question is the spy in the administration's camp, or is the spy part of, a spy on us as citizens of the country? Um, Again, we get judgment. So people are going to look at this salute, and here's the devil card I was seeing. Um, so abuse of power coming forward. I don't have a good feeling about this. We get the Three of Cups in the hopes and fears. This is a hope. This is about circles of support and celebration. It's a hope that nothing happens, or it's a fear that they're going to celebrate something happening. It kind of cuts both ways. That's a good outcome card. The outcome card is justice, the first outcome card. And things moving swiftly. Um, but a lot of sleepless nights. So, I think this could be related to, like the attack on Paul Pelosi, even though it wasn't directly MAGA related, it was MAGA adjacent. I think for John Bolton, the worry would be something like that too. Like, when Trump said in the debate back in 2020, Proud Boys stand by and stand back, we didn't really foresee January 6th at that time. But looking back, it's very obvious what was going on. So it kind of has a very similar feel. We do have a lot of fiery leadership with the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands, and some really dark energies with the High Priestess. So, yeah, that salute was definitely a message. Um, to whom exactly, that's yet to be determined, but my guess would be some militia groups that maybe we have never heard of. Okay, that's all I got for now. I'll be back with another reading, trying to keep up with the news. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I appreciate everyone that supports the channel. Thank you, and I'll be back with another video soon.